Alright, welcome to my video. My name is Eckogen. We're going to go over the mechanics of Twin Asura and Temple of Eluvium for 12 man, and you get to see the tanking perspective for Frost Asura. We'll start off with the roles. You need a melee tank for Frost and a range tank for Flame. One keeper and two healers per side, and when I say healers, I mean as in the mechanics, not the actual healing class like a summoner. Ideally, you want two soul fighters, but you can get by with just one soul fighter. So when you start the fight, Frost Asura should be engaged 1 to 2 seconds head start before Flame Asura. The melee tank needs to stay within 8 meters of the boss, and the range tank needs to remain further than 8 meters at all times. So failure to do so will result in the boss dropping a persistent AoE, and that's going to cause a wipe. So shortly after beginning the fight, there's going to be a message that pops up. So it'll be this message here where it says they conjure flame and frost globes. So this starts the orb phase. So on the frost side, only the tank and keeper blocks the blue orbs, while the rest of the party blocks red. On the flame side, the tank and keeper blocks red orbs, and the rest of the party blocks blue. For both sides, it will randomly spawn between 6 to 10, or 6 to 7, I don't know why I said 6 to 10, 6 to 7 blue orbs and red orbs. These orbs will move towards the bosses and they will get absorbed if they're not blocked. If any boss absorbs 3 stacks, it will enrage. Solo blocking an orb will give you 2 stacks, and these stacks can be shared if you were to block an orb with someone else nearby or if you SS into them. So if you block an orb and immediately SS into somebody, you will share the stack. Blocking red orbs gives you heat stacks, while blocking blue orbs gives you chill stacks. You can block opposite color orbs provided you have 2 stacks or less. Now, each stack will deal damage every 2 seconds, and when you have 3 stacks, it automatically becomes a buff. So if you look on the left side near the party side there, you can see an icon that's in blue that says 1 minute on it. So that's my buff, or, well, it used to be stacks, then once I got 3 stacks, it became a buff. That buff lasts for 90 seconds. So, for example, if I was to block a red orb, or if someone blocked a red orb too close to me and then shared it with me, it would automatically kill me. So the goal here during the orb phase is to have the tanks, keepers, and healers to have 3 stacks, and then for the DPS to have 1 or 2 stacks. On the frost side, I recommend people who are blocking the red orbs do it at max distance, as the tank and keeper are near the boss. So kind of like, where I'm sitting at right now, you don't want to block a red orb right beside me because that could potentially share with me and then it would kill me. And then for the flame side, you should be blocking orbs between 5 to 8 meters, as that's the distance that the range tank is also blocking as well. Well, we're blocking a little further than that. They're blocking probably around 10 to 12 meters. So 5 to 8 is good as it doesn't actually share with the party that's sitting at the flame as well. So that's what I would recommend. So for frost side, you should be blocking orbs at max distance if you're DPS and healer, and then the DPS and healers on the flame side should be blocking orbs between 5 to 8 meters. So about a minute and a half in, this message will appear here where it says they absorb flame and frost globes. So what happens here is that they're going to absorb all the chill and heat stacks, which are people who have 1 or 2 stacks. These same color stacks will heal the bosses, while the opposite color will damage them. So a big part of mechanical damage stems from this. So if you do it correctly, it's going to cause a lot of damage to these bosses. And if you have no stacks during this, when this happens, this will kill you. So shortly after that, 4 flowers are going to spawn. There's going to be 2 at the front and then 2 at the back. It's a good idea to apply Deep Wound just before this, as it will reduce the amount of healing that the bosses receive. So the tanks should get the 2 in the front, and then the keepers should get 2 in the back. And because the tanks and the keepers have the same colored buff as the flowers, when they step into them, this converts the flowers into an orb, thus stopping the flowers from healing the boss. So the boss is going to fire projectiles at the tank. So this is when you want to use party protection skills to assist your tank. So, Moon Block, Divine Veil, Petal Storm, whatever works. And if you have only one Soul Fighter, like we do here, then what you want to do is you want to put both tanks in the same party with the Soul Fighter. And then the Soul Fighter needs to get near the edge of the Death Zone. So you can see number 3 there. They're very close to the edge. And then they need to use their health boost to get both of us that boost in health. So the orbs that are dropped from the converted flowers are for the keepers and the healers only. The keeper on the frost side will use the orb and they'll press 2, which that will make them immune. So that will allow them to cross to the other side, pick up the orb on that side, and then heal the other tank. So, for example, party number 4, Naughty Schoolgirl. So that person is the keeper. So he picks up the orb on the frost side, and then he presses 2 to get that immunity buff. So he crosses over to the flame side, picks up an orb on that side, and then heals the ranged tank. And then the keeper on the range side does the same thing, and they're coming over to the frost side to heal the melee tank. Alright, so a few seconds after, this message right here is going to pop up. So they're going to absorb any of the flowers. So if there's any flowers still left, then that's going to be instant enrage. And then next, you're going to see this message here. So it says prepare for a powerful attack. So the Asuras are going to phantom grip the tank and attack them with 5 hits. Also at this time, they're going to cast a field-wide AoE, so anyone with no buffs are going to be rooted. So if you do this correctly, the tanks, keepers, and healers will not be rooted because they have the active buff, while the DPS will be rooted. So there's the Phantom Grip, so they're going to start the 5 hit. So the keepers and healers should have the orbs on them, and they should be stacking close to the tanks to heal them properly. So, because if you're too far or if you're on an angle, that might mess up your heals. Because the healing has a 2x8 range, and it's like a linear AoE sort of healing pattern. So you can see here, so when you hold the orb, it's similar to the horn in Beluga Lagoon. It gives you access to abilities while you hold. So LMB, if you hit LMB, it gives you an instant minor heal, and then that can also be spam. If you press 1, cast a greater heal, and the cast time is 3 seconds. If you press 2, that gives the user temporary immunity, so that's pretty much only for the keepers. So you should never have to press 2 unless you're a keeper. So the Asuras are going to strike the tank 5 times. So healing needs to be done correctly, especially with the greater heal. So this is how we did our greater heals. So healer number 1 casts greater heal on the first attack. And then healer number 2 casts greater heal after the second attack. And then the keeper will cast greater heal on the third hit. So if you time the greater heal correctly, it should top up the tanks. And then outside of the greater heal, you should be using LMB to do instant heal to keep the tanks, healed up all the time. So that's the second hit there. This is the third. That's the fourth hit, and here comes the final hit. And then right after that final hit, the healers and the keepers need to continue spamming LMB because there is going to be dot damage that's affecting the tank. So, the tank could be like barely alive, but if you forget to use the instant heals after the 5th hit, the dot damage could potentially kill them. So provided both tanks survive, they're going to receive a health boost, which is needed for the second phase of the 5-hit attack. The final attack for the first phase deals 170,000 damage, and the final attack in the second phase deals 230,000 damage. So these attacks are straight up true damage. So meaning the amount of defense you have does not matter. It just depends on how much health you have. Health is pretty much the most important thing as a tank for this raid to stay alive for those 5-hit attacks. Having more health will definitely provide a larger safety margin because then you can compensate for if someone mistimed their greater heal, you'll at least survive it or have a higher possibility of surviving because you have more health. So the Asuras will switch sides and pull their respective tanks with them. So after the switch, the tank and keepers are still blocking the same colored orbs as the boss they're on, but the rest of the party are now blocking the opposite color, and the mechanics just repeat. So the order for orb blocking doesn't matter for tanks and keepers as long as they have 3 stacks to get the buff. The buff does last for 90 seconds, so keep an eye on the buff and make sure there's more than 45 seconds left on it before the 5th or 6th orb is up. The tanks and keepers can solo or share the orbs accordingly based on how the orbs spawn. And since the orb spawning is RNG, there's no way to say you should share the first or solo the second. It's just RNG completely. As for the healers in DPS, the DPS should be sharing the 4th and 5th orbs, while the healers should be getting the rest of the orbs to ensure 3 stacks. So that swipe attack right there, that's the attack you definitely need to block as a tank, because if you get hit by that attack, that is going to knock you down. If you do get knocked down, do not hit your F roll, because that will put you too far away from the boss. And that kick right there, that kick also needs to be blocked or avoided, as that will send you flying up into the air. And then that slam attack, that will be the third and final attack you need to block as a tank. So that slam attack will actually push you away from the boss. It's nothing too major, but it will damage you and push you away. So it's just those 3 attacks you need to watch out for. That slam attack, the kick attack, and then that final strike when he does that cross attack. That's the attacks you need to watch out for as a melee tank for Frost. So there's that slam attack you need to block. And then block that final strike. And then watch out for that kick. So remember that here they're going to absorb all the stacks. So they take all the chill and heat stacks, which are 1 or 2 stacks. And before this, the tank, the healers, and the keepers should have the 3 stacks. If your tank does not have 3 stacks, or if then it's pretty much done. You have to reset. If let's say one of the healers doesn't have a 3 stack, you might be able to get away with it with having only 2 healers. But it's that thing again. So you definitely want to have the tank, keeper, and the healers have 3 stacks before this happens. Remember that he's going to spawn 4 flowers. So there's going to be 2 in the front and 2 in the back. So the tank should get 2 in the front, the keeper should get 2 in the back, and then the boss is going to fire projectiles at the tank. And this is also when the keepers take the orbs. They'll use the invincibility and cross. So keepers and healers should have picked up orbs by now. They'll be stacking close to the tank. Everyone else is going to get rooted besides the healers and keepers. The Asura will phantom grip the tank, and they're going to do the 5-hit attack. Remember that after that, you need to keep spamming the instant heal to keep the tank topped up. And then if you do it correctly, they're going to swap and they're going to pull their respective tanks. And then you do the same thing again. So in this third phase, if you make it to the 5-hit attack in the third phase, it's always going to kill you. So, and plus I believe that's when it's going to enrage as well. So you have to kill it before that. So here begins the Orb Phase. Remember that it's going to be about 6 to 7 blue and red orbs that spawn. Their spawning order and location is always RNG. And remember that on Frost, you should be blocking red orbs, like the healers and DPS should be blocking red orbs at max distance. And then on the Flame side, the healers and DPS should be blocking the blue orbs between 5 to 6 or 5 to 8 meters. And remember that the goal is to have the tank, keeper, and healers have 3 stacks, and then everyone else should have 1 or 2 stacks. So see how the keeper blocked the orb and then the SS to me, so that shared a stack with me. And remember that the buff only lasts for 90 seconds, so you have to keep it refreshed. Alright, so they're going to absorb the stacks. And remember that 1 or 2 stacks are going to damage it as long as it's opposite color. And there we go. That is how you do Twin Asura for 12 man. I will post the mechanics in the video description. Of course, if you have any questions or comments, please post in the video and I will answer them. So thanks for watching. Hope that helped.